Ngayesah di Assalamualaikum Dr. Siti Ngayesah.
Assalamualaikum.
Can we start the
I cannot hear you clearly.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our class today. Our lecturer, Miss Siva Anandya, and Miss Amalia Febriana, and also Miss Anissa. As the lecturer at Faculty of Research in Marine Science, University of Brawijaya, and also our guest lecturer, Dr. Siti Ngayesah from National University of Malaysia. And as well as happy our fellow student here, I would like to thank to all of those who attend and took the time to attend this lecture session. Before we start our lecture, please, Miss Asifa Anandya, let's her have an opening.
Thank you, Dias. Good morning, everyone. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. Today, I'm going to have a special session with a distinguished guest lecturer from us remotely. Who is highly forward allows us to bring global perspective to our classroom. Excited to learn from the expert in the field. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Siti Ngayesah, a lecturer Faculty of Economics and Management, University Kuliah, Malaysia. Dr. Siti Ngayesah is an expert in her field. We are thrilled to have her share her knowledge with us today. We are truly grateful for her time and expertise. Before we begin, I would like to introduce our moderator for today's session, Dr. Siti Ngayesah. So, his name is Dias, who will guide the discussion and facilitate any questions from the students. Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Siti Ngayesah to start the lecture. We look forward to a fruitful and engaging discussion. Thank you. Dr. Siti Ngayesah, may start the lecture.
Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Because it's not very clear. The sound from your side is not very clear. I actually cannot hear what you said just now. But can I start now or is it anything?
Yes, please.
Okay. Before I start, let me share with you the slide first. Can you see the slide?
Yes, doctor.
Is it moving?
Yeah, yes, it's working.
Okay. Okay. Before I start with my, I don't want to say that I'm giving lecture. Okay. I'm here just to share. Okay, I'm here just to share. I'm not the expert. It's just that maybe I have some experience in doing studies or in learning about consumer behavior. Okay. Let me introduce you a bit about myself. My name is Siti Ngayesah binti Abdul Hamid. It sounds like Javanese, right? I have a Javanese grandfather from Yogyakarta. That's why I have that Javanese name, and I can understand Javanese. So so don't worry, okay. We can communicate in English. We can communicate in Malay. You can speak Javanese. Inshallah, I try to understand. Maybe I cannot reply in a very good Javanese, but at least I understand. Okay. Um. By the way, just a bit about myself. I have been in UKM or University Kebangsaan Malaysia since 2011. I have a degree, master, and PhD in marketing. And my research interest is mainly on consumer behavior. Okay, so it's something interesting that when Dr. Ashifa invited me to talk about consumer behavior, I started to find information about sustainable fisheries. And yeah, it's very interesting. Dr. Ashifa, we can collaborate to do a study on this. Okay, let me go a bit on this topic. I believe that fishery, marine is not something that is very unfamiliar to Indonesian. Okay, Indonesian has a lot of islands and surrounded by sea. And I believe that's why a consumption of fisheries in Indonesia or seafood consumption is also very high. Okay, and Indonesia is also among the leading exporters in seafood around the world. So one of the proof that Indonesia is very related to fisheries, sea, and so on is this song. You know this song, right? Nenek moyangku seorang pelaut. I cannot hear the response from the students.
Yeah, miss, we know that song.
Yeah, maybe I can share a bit this song. Sorry. Can you hear the voice?
The voice is no longer miss. Maybe you can say with the voice. It's not just presentation.
There is no sound, is it?
There's no song in there. We cannot hear anything.
Let me see. Screen, background and effects, audio. Is there any sound? No sound yet.
No song yet, miss.
No sound yet. It's okay lah. I think I just skip that one. I believe you know that song because it's your childhood song, right? By the way, this is the content of my sharing session today. Okay, we will go one by one into what is consumer behavior. Okay, the current trends in sustainable seafood consumption, factors influencing consumer behavior, which I believe you have learned in your class. Okay, the barriers of sustainable seafood consumption, and we will have a debate at the end of the session. Next session on Friday, we will look into behavioral theories that I believe you have also covered in class. Consumer decision process, how to build trust, how we segment consumers in sustainable consumption, and policies and campaigns that we can do to influence consumers to consume sustainable seafoods, and also some activity at the end of the session. So the session today will focus on the consumer behavior in sustainable fisheries. Okay. So before I go further, before I start with this session, this one question that I have asked Dr. Ashifa. She said that you have learned consumer behavior in several classes. So what is consumer behavior? What do you understand about consumer behavior? I share with you this link. There is a QR code. You can scan that QR code and answer this question. One moment.
Maybe our student wanna answer that question, Miss.
Sorry, I give you QR code. How to share this? Let me share it first.
Check. Maybe consumer behavior refers to the study of how individuals, groups, or organizations make decisions about what to buy, use, and dispose of goods and services.
Okay, how people use, dispose, how people purchase goods and services. Thank you for that answer. Yeah, I have a QR code here. Maybe we can get more response here. Can you scan this QR code and try to answer that question? What do you understand about consumer behavior? It's very limited character, only 40 characters you can type. So you need to summarize your understanding. What is consumer behavior? Nobody answer yet? I will use some interactive tools like this throughout the session. So please be ready to scan and answer the question. Like I said just now, don't worry about the language. Write whatever language you want to write. Can you scan the QR code just now? The study of how individuals buy product, perilaku consumer dalam membeli barang. Only two answers. Behavior to meet needs. Using, buying, using, evaluating. Consumer behavior in decision making. How customer decided to buy things. Okay, I'll go back to my slide. Okay, yes, you have answered it correctly. Okay. We can look into several definitions of consumer behavior, but in general, what you said just now, what your friend said just now about consumer behavior is correct. Okay. Consumer behavior is the process that consumers go through when they want to search for, when they want to buy or they want to purchase, when they use, when they evaluate, and finally how they dispose. Okay, not only products and services, it's also include experience, ideas, and anything that relate to decision making, and it's over time, not only on one time. Okay, so that is consumer behavior. Okay, sometimes we do not realize that we are going through several process of consumer behavior when we are buying something. Okay, but yes, that is we will look one by one, okay, on how this that there is a process of there is a behavior that we go through throughout our purchasing of fisheries or sustainable fisheries, which is the focus of my topic today. Okay. Yeah, can you please relate consumer behavior with sustainable fisheries? Can you relate consumer behavior with sustainable fisheries?
I think in the sector fisheries, behavior, a consumer behavior is relate.
How it's relate?
Yes.
How is it related? Can you explain how is it related? Or anyone maybe can explain how consumer behavior relates to sustainable fisheries.
Maybe my opinion, consumer behavior directly impact the fishery sectors by influencing purchase, decision, market preference, and ultimately the demand for fish and seafood products.
Thank you. Very good answer. Okay. How consumers make decision, okay, to buy fish that is considered sustainable. So that is how we relate sustainable fisheries and consumer behavior. Okay. Okay, these are some facts. Okay, these are some facts about fisheries around the world. Okay, around the world. The first one is in Malaysia itself. In Malaysia itself, you can see that National Fishermen's Association in the year 2022 said that fish sightings in Malaysia has decreased by up to 70%, especially in the north of Peninsular Malaysia, which means that the number of fish in Malaysia has decreased by 70%. Around the world, United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization said that 90% of world's fish stocks have been fully exploited, overexploited, or depleted. Showing that 90% of the world's fish stock has been used around the world. Okay, and we need sustainable consumption to ensure that it can be replaced. And the South China Sea's main commercial species also has been said to critically decline by 90%. We can say that fishermen from Indonesia and fishermen from Malaysia are using the same sea, which is the South China Sea, among others, okay, to get the source of fish. And it is said that has critically declined by 90%. And over the past 40 years, marine species have seen a decrease of 39%. This critically shows that a sustainable fisheries is very important in order to ensure that in 20 years in front, we still have fish to eat. Okay, that is the facts that we cannot deny. So yeah, this is fish in the menu around the world, we can say that the highest per capita consumption of fish and seafood is in Iceland, which is 91.19 kg. This is in Malaysia. Malaysia's in the year 2020, the Food and Agriculture Association (FAO) of the United Nations 2020 shows that Malaysians eat 54.7 kilograms of fish annually, which is higher than the other countries in Southeast Asia. Higher than Brunei, Cambodia, Myanmar, Indonesia, Vietnam, and so on. But data in the year, I think 2022, shows that but this is from different source of data. Few years later, data shows that per capita consumption of fish and seafood in Malaysia has reduced to 46.9 kg. And it ranks second in Southeast Asia after Cambodia. So that is fish and seafood consumption in Southeast Asia. In Indonesia, each individual is approximately in the year 2021 consume 35.26 kilogram of fish. That is data from Statista 2024, and it is expected that the consumption per capita in Indonesia will slightly increase by 0.15 kilogram per capita in 2031. So that was data by Statista in data in 2021. Okay, so that is fish consumption in Indonesia, and I think you are familiar with this. The Indonesian government is having a campaign for Indonesian to eat more fish. Ayo kita makan ikan. Which is the Indonesian government targeted that Indonesian could eat at least to reach 62.5 kilogram per capita of fish or seafood in 2024 because of the benefits of eating fish. So that is fish consumption in Indonesia that the government want it to be increased to 62.5 kg, which if it's happened will be the highest consumption of fish in Southeast Asia. But despite all individual in the world really like fish, how many of you like fish? Or maybe the question would be a bit different. How many of you do not eat fish? Can I see hands up? How many of you do not eat fish? Do you eat fish? Anyone do not eat fish here? Okay.
Maybe our student is rarely eat a fish because most of them eat a chicken than a fish maybe.
Oh, you prefer chicken than fish, is it?
Yeah, I think that.
Why is it so? Why is it that Indonesian prefer chicken than fish? I don't know that.
Maybe because the price of the chicken in here is more cheap than a fish.
That is one of the reason. Actually, it's almost the same in Malaysia. The price of chicken is cheaper than fish because chicken in Malaysia is a control. The price of chicken is controlled by the government before. So that's why the price is cheaper. But now it's not controlled anymore. But because of the fish production is according to seasons, that's why sometimes the price of fish is higher in Malaysia. And that's lead to why people prefer chicken than fish. But I believe in Malaysia it's a bit balanced that people prefer both chicken and fish. As compared that you said that Indonesian prefer chicken more than fish. No wonder that your government have that campaign for Indonesian to eat fish. Where is my slide just now? Okay, this one. okay, despite that everyone are eating fish, okay, despite that so many people love fish, okay, and despite that the government also wants the people to eat fish, okay, there are challenges in fish consumption, okay. So let us watch this YouTube video about the challenges in fish consumption with the topic is, will the ocean ever run out of fish? But before that, I think I need to solve that audio problem first. How to make sure that you can listen to the audio? Share sound. Okay, I found it. Please tell me if you cannot listen to the audio. Can you hear the sound?
Yes, miss. It's all
Okay,
different.
good.
Fish are in trouble. The cod population off Canada's east coast collapsed in the 1990s. Intense recreational and commercial fishing has decimated Goliath grouper populations in South Florida, and most populations of tuna have plummeted by over 50%, with the southern Atlantic bluefin on the verge of extinction. Those are just a couple of many examples. Overfishing is happening all over the world. How did this happen? When some people think of fishing, they imagine relaxing in a boat and patiently reeling in the day's catch. But modern industrial fishing, the kind that stocks our grocery shelves, looks more like warfare. In fact, the technologies they employ were developed for war. Radar, sonar, helicopters, and spotter planes are all used to guide factory ships towards dwindling schools of fish. Long lines with hundreds of hooks or huge nets round up massive amounts of fish, along with other species like seabirds, turtles, and dolphins. And fish are hauled up onto giant boats, complete with onboard flash freezing and processing facilities. All of these technologies have enabled us to catch fish at greater depths and farther out at sea than ever before. And as the distance and depth of fishing have expanded, so has the variety of species we target. For example, the Patagonian toothfish neither sounds nor looks very appetizing, and fishermen ignored it until the late 1970s. Then it was rebranded and marketed to chefs in the US as Chilean sea bass, despite the animal actually being a type of cod. Soon it was popping up in markets all over the world and is now a delicacy. Unfortunately, these deep water fish don't reproduce until they're at least 10 years old, making them extremely vulnerable to overfishing when the young are caught before they've had a chance to spawn. Consumer tastes and prices can also have harmful effects. For example, shark fin soup is considered such a delicacy in China and Vietnam that the fin has become the most profitable part of the shark. This leads many fishermen to fill their boats with fins, leaving millions of dead sharks behind. The problems aren't unique to toothfish and sharks. Almost 31% of the world's fish populations are overfished, and another 58% are fished at the maximum sustainable level. Wild fish simply can't reproduce as fast as 7 billion people can eat them. Fishing also has impacts on broader ecosystems. Wild shrimp are typically caught by dragging nets the size of a football field along the ocean bottom, disrupting or destroying seafloor habitats. The catch is often as little as 5% shrimp. The rest is bycatch, unwanted animals that are thrown back dead. And coastal shrimp farming isn't much better. Mangroves are bulldozed to make room for shrimp farms, robbing coastal communities of storm protection and natural water filtration, and depriving fish of key nursery habitats. So what does it look like to give fish a break and let them recover? Protection can take many forms. In national waters, governments can set limits about how, when, where, and how much fishing occurs, with restrictions on certain boats and equipment. Harmful practices such as bottom trawling can be banned altogether, and we can establish marine reserves closed to all fishing to help ecosystems restore themselves. There's also a role for consumer awareness and boycotts to reduce wasteful practices like shark finning and push fishing industries towards more sustainable practices. Past interventions have successfully helped depleted fish populations recover. There are many solutions. The best approach for each fishery must be considered based on science, respect for the local communities that rely on the ocean, and for fish as wild animals. And then the rules must be enforced. International collaboration is often needed too, because fish don't care about our borders. We need to end overfishing. Ecosystems, food security, jobs, economies, and coastal cultures all depend on it.
Yeah, so that's some of the challenges that facing the fishing community, or that facing the fisheries industry. Okay, so I summarize the challenges to be, among others, including overfishing, that you fish or you go and fishing more than what is needed by the consumers. Second is illegal, unreported, and unregulated, or IUU fishing. This is very important that, for example, in Malaysia, you need license in order for you to go fishing. And there are several zones that you are only allowed to fish in certain zones only. If you are doing, and the techniques that you use in order for you to go fishing is also need to be allowed by the government. So if you are going beyond that, or if you do fishing without legal permission, then this may also leads to overfishing. This may also leads to destroy of the sea and so on. So that is among the challenges faced by the fishing industry, or the fishery industry. And the second one is damage to the ocean floor used by this technique called bottom trawling. That when they use this technique, they take away everything at the bottom of the sea, including the small fish that you cannot eat, including whatever habitat, or whatever things available at the bottom of the sea. So when this happen, you also damage the corals, which can be the habitat of the fish. And when this happens, it also reduce the number of fish in the sea. Fourth is bycatch, which studies say that 40% of total global catch, or total global fish catch, is bycatch, which is incidentally. You want to catch something else, but in order for you to get that catch, that fish, you also take other species together. That these other species you cannot use, or you do not want to sell. So you throw it back to the sea, and it is what you throw back to the sea may die, okay, or you cannot use it. So that is bycatch, which also increase the challenges of overfishing. Or we can say that, it also damage the species of fish in the seas. This is another challenges. In Malaysia, the marine capture fish stocks have declined. Okay, in 5 out of the last 6 years, the marine capture fish stocks have declined. I read a news in a few years back. The fishermen in some part of Malaysia, which is in West Malaysia, they do not go to the sea anymore because they do not get enough fish to sell. When they go to sea, they need to pay for their workers and so on. So if they cannot get enough fish to sell, or if they cannot get a good amount of fish, they pay more cost than what they get. So that's why it's become a challenges in the fishery industry in Malaysia, when the number of fish in the sea have declined. In 2016, the amount of fish caught from the seas was 1.57 million tons. In 2022, this is data in Malaysia also. In 2022, the fish catch amounted to 1.31 million tons, which is a drop of about 16.5% from 2016, showing that, a huge drop of number of fish in the sea. So if we cannot control our consumption, or if we do not consume sustainably, the number of fish in the seas will continue drop. This is Indonesian data 8% of the nation's marine captured fish were overfished in 2017. So a similar situation not only in Malaysia that we are facing overfish, in Indonesia also, you are also facing overfishing. One third of Indonesia's coral reefs are in poor condition. Maybe one of it is because of the use of trawling just now, or because of some technique that is not sustainable, or some technique that is not friendly to the habitat, to the corals in the sea. And up to 52,000 hectares of mangroves are lost per year. Not only that, plastic pollution also has cost USD 450 million of economic damage annually. So all these are the challenges faced by the fishery industry that um, that open the need to consume fish sustainably. Okay, the impacts of all these challenges is, the first one is decreasing food security. So we do not have enough fish anymore. Those who love fish may cannot eat fish if we do not consume sustainably in the future. And the degraded ecosystem. The technique that we use in order for us to catch fish may also affect other ecosystem in the sea. It damage the corals, it damage other wildlife in the sea. And declining wildlife, including turtle, is also extinct. Okay. So the technique that we use, the ships that we use, sometimes it's also damaging the wildlife in the sea. And also, what happened in the end is economic decline, because we have a lot of fishermen depending their life from the fishing activity. They get money, they sustain their life through fishing activity. If we do not consume sustainably, if we do not care about what we buy from the sea, or the seafood that we buy, it also affect the life of the fishermen, how they want to economically sustain their life if their job is no longer can be done. So that is the impacts of overfishing. In general, throughout the world, there is increasing trend towards sustainable fish consumption. Do you aware of all these labels? Have you seen some of these labels, or do you aware of all these labels?
I think maybe I not similar about the label.
Okay. These are labels related to sustainable consumption for fish or seafood consumption. Okay. Among the most popular one used in most countries, including Indonesia and Malaysia, is MSC, Marine Stewardship Council Certified, and Best Aquaculture Practice Certification. That is among the most popular one. Okay. Dolphin Safe is for tuna catch. That when you catch tuna, you do not cause problem to the dolphin. That is that label for. Best aquaculture practice is for aquaculture, which is not in the sea. Okay, but they give certification to show that if you buy this seafood, that the source is from aquaculture. It is it has been raised, or the way they rise that seafood is through best practices, which is sustainable. Okay, that is best aquaculture practice. Certified Sustainable Seafood or MSC, Marine Stewardship Council Certified. That is used around the world, not only in the West, but also Indonesia is also having a very good cooperation with this body to ensure that, I think Indonesia got the certification for tuna in Indonesia, that it's ensure that every time you catch tuna, um, there is certain period that it is able to reproduce, so that you will have an enough number of tuna in the sea for your future consumption. That is what MSC given, or that is what what is promised by MSC, or Marine Stewardship Council certified. I think among the most used certification in the world that you can find in most countries, MSC, and also Best Aquaculture Practice Certification. These both certifications. In Malaysia, there are two aquaculture industry, or two company, I think two farms, okay, certified by Best Aquaculture Practice Certification, only two. Another certification that you can see, it's actually a lot of certifications around the world to ensure that customers know whether they consume sustainable seafood or they just consume without considering whether it is following certain certification or not. But these are among others, including responsible fishing scheme. We have seafood wash. Whole Foods Market is, if you shop at Whole Foods, yeah, it's not available in Malaysia. It's not also available in Indonesia. But Whole Foods Market is, they ensure that if you shop in Whole Foods, the fish sell in Whole Foods are certified by sustainable fish consumption. So, like when we buy something halal, we are looking for halal logo. Okay, or if you want to buy something that is organic, you are looking for organic logo. So this is also the spirit of sustainable seafood consumption. All this logo is to ensure that customers know that they buy sustainable seafood, not only any seafood that may cause damage, or that may cause negative impact to the sea. So yeah, this is the trend of fish consumption around the world. That yeah, there is actually global growth in fish consumption. That it is expected that the consumption level will increase all around the world, which will exceed 20 kilogram per person. Okay, so that is global growth, showing that in the future more people will eat fish. And the source of seafood, study also said that by 2030, the global seafood consumption will rely on farm-raised source. 62% will rely on farm-raised source, compared to only 38% wild-caught seafood. So the farm-raised source, or the aquaculture also, should be sustainable farming, because it is also giving certain negative impact to the climate, and it's also giving certain negative impact to the environment. So if it is not certified by sustainable consumption, it may also not only affect the land but also affect the sea. So that is fish consumption. The trend in sustainable fish consumption, which maybe we do not see a lot in our countries, but around the world in general, people are more concerned for climate change. Okay, in Japan and Singapore, consumers are concerned. They are very concerned on the effects of climate change, higher concern than the effects of overfishing. That is climate change. And consumers are switching to sustainable seafood. Around Asia Pacific, or around the region in Asia Pacific, 61% of consumers believe that they must consume seafood from sustainable sources only. Okay, and the data also shows that 3 out of 10 individuals believe that their favorite fish species will extinct in 20 years. If you do not consume sustainably, in 20 years, you will not see your favorite seafood anymore. Maybe, for example, today you are really into, what fish do you like to eat? Any fish that you really like to eat?
Yes, I have my favorite fish.
What is your favorite fish?
In tuna maybe tuna,
Tuna.
cakalang.
Okay. If your favorite fish is tuna, if you do not consume sustainably, maybe in 20 years in the future, you do not see tuna anymore. Okay, that is the spirit behind the sustainable consumption. But maybe because Indonesian have got that certification for tuna, MSC certification for tuna, maybe you will see tuna in the future. Okay, and people see through self-made claims. Sometimes this seller or fish sellers say they are sustainable. They are sustainably caught. Okay, but two out of three individuals agree that sustainable claims should be made by independent organization, not organization that related to the seafood industry. Okay, and the awareness and trust in independent labels is increasing. Okay, data shows that the retail sales of MSC label products now hit USD 10 billion, showing that more people are looking for MSC label before they buy seafood. Okay, and 17% of the world's wild marine catch is now MSC certified. 17% is low. Okay, 17% is low. It's only across 36 countries. That's why our awareness is very important to make sure that in the future, more people will look for MSC certified seafood. Okay, and since 2018, the awareness of MSC bluefish tick has increased significantly. We data shows that in Australia from 27% awareness increased to 38%. In China, from 59% awareness towards MSC label increased to 56%. In Japan, also increased to 19%, showing that more people are aware about the blue tick label or the MSC label. Okay, so that is some of the trend in sustainable consumption. And data also shows that you, because you are young, I'm not young. Okay, young shoppers at the age of 18 to 34 years old have different seafood consumption. They prefer more sustainable seafood as compared to the other age group. Maybe not in our country, but around the world, these young consumers demand more sustainable seafood. Okay, some of the reasons including they are active in social media. When they are active in social media, they aware of this threat towards the sea. They aware all this overfishing and so on, and that's why they are looking for sustainable seafood. Okay, and because of that, they are willing to reduce consumption if the seafood is not sustainably certified, and they are willing to switch from one brand to another if it is not sustainably certified. Okay, so the young shoppers will take the action. The old shoppers like me, old consumers like me, maybe do not have any impact, but you, as the young individual, young consumers, will lead this action to make sure that people will consume a sustainable seafood. Okay, and yeah, the digital commerce also affect the consumption. Okay, digitalization become accelerated after the COVID-19. And if you look now, people are more towards purchasing ready to cook seafood. Okay, that it's arrived at your home, it's ready to cook. Okay, while previously we are buying seafood at the market and so on, that we can have we can say that there is no label, we don't know. Okay, but if you are going towards ready to cook seafood, there is no reason that there is no label. Okay, there should be a label that you can choose from. So digital commerce accelerated this trend towards sustainable fish consumption. This is a study amongst 12 countries. Okay, a study among 12 markets on consumer preferences for seafood sustainability. And Indonesia is one of the countries in this study. You can see here they do not listed every countries. We only have Australia here, China, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, and Japan. And you can see the first criteria for people to buy seafood is across all these countries. The first criteria is safety. Okay, you want safe seafood. Okay, this is all countries said that all consumers in all countries said they want a safe seafood. If we go into Indonesia, number 2 Second criteria in purchasing seafood is limited pollutions. So you are looking for seafood that has limited pollutions. Number 3 is healthy fish population. Number 4 is taste. Okay, while in most countries taste is number 2. Okay, people choose seafood. The second reason or the second highest reason people choose seafood is because of taste. But in Indonesia, taste is number 4. Indonesian are more concerned about the pollution. Indonesia are more concerned about the health of the fish population and the safety before taste. Okay. Number 5 is compliance with regulation. While in other countries, this can be number 10, for example, in Hong Kong, but seems like Indonesian are concerned or Indonesian aware about regulation. Number 6 is animal health or welfare. Number 8 is locally produced, whether this fish is locally produced. Okay. Do you know that Malaysia export a lot of fish from Indonesia? Number 9 is appearance. Okay, appearance of the fish. And then there are other criteria: work condition, sustainable feed, and low carbon emission, and so on. Okay, so these are among consumer preferences in consuming seafood, sustainable seafood. Yeah, this is one question that I really want to ask. Where do you buy seafood actually? Where you or your mom or your family buy seafood?
In market.
Market. Is it a wet market or supermarket?
Market and supermarket.
Market and supermarket.
Yes.
Do you aware there is any label on the seafood?
I think on the market, I don't aware about a label, or the supermarket aware about the label.
Okay. Two different situations or in two different venue. Okay, we'll see. It's actually similar in Malaysia also. That I don't think there is a label if we buy from wet market, but if we go to supermarket, maybe there is a label. So this is factors influencing consumer behavior that you have learned, right? Have you learned about this?
Yeah, we have learned about that before, Miss.
You have learned? Have or haven't?
Yeah, we have.
We have, okay. You have learned about this. Okay, these are in general when you learn consumer behavior in any textbook, they will list these 3 factors influencing consumer behavior. Maybe if you learn consumer behavior, specifically, you will learn about all factors specific in detail. But if you learn it in other subject, then it can be general. Okay, but yeah, in general, consumer behaviors are influenced by social factors, psychological factors, and also situational factors. Okay, the social factors can be the culture, the social class, okay, reference groups, and so on. We go one by one, okay, and we relate it to sustainable consumption or fish consumption. Okay, the cultural influences. If you look in Malaysia, some states in Malaysia consume more fish than the other states. Okay, in Malaysia, those from Terengganu, for example, the East Coast, they consume more fish because they are more to the sea. Okay, it's actually they are nearer to the sea. Okay. If I read data in Indonesia, those in Sulawesi, those in Maluku, if I'm not mistaken, consume more fish than the other part of Indonesia. Okay. So that is part of it is cultural influences. If I said about people from Terengganu in Malaysia, they have a lot of menu related to fish. So that is cultural influences. Social class, your wealth, your education, your occupation, that will determine your social class. And your social class will determine where you buy. Okay, and what brand you buy. Okay, maybe people with higher social class will buy sustainable fish because they buy it from the supermarket. People from the lower social class will buy from the wet market, and that will cause them do not aware of this sustainable fish consumption. Okay, reference group who influence us. Okay, who influence us, who have the most influence on us. Okay, since you are in this fishery department, maybe you aware about this and your friends influence you to buy sustainable fish. But if you do not aware, everybody besides you do not aware of this sustainable fish. Nobody will influence you to buy sustainable fish or sustainable seafood. And that will also cause you to not buy sustainable seafood. The opinion leaders, the influencer, is there any influencer in Indonesia that are talking about sustainable seafood consumption? Okay, if there is any influencer in Indonesia talking about sustainable seafood consumption, trying to influence you to eat sustainable seafood, then people may be influenced. Even the government, when they have this campaign of Ayo Makan Ikan, the government talking about sustainable seafood, or it's just general seafood or general fish. Okay, that also will influence whether you buy sustainable seafood or not, including the family, your parents, your siblings, whether they influence you to buy sustainable seafood or you will just buy any seafood. Okay, so that is social factors. Then we have psychological factors, your needs, motives, what do you want, okay, your perceptions, whether you have positive attitudes towards sustainable seafood or not. The learning process, okay, today you learn about this sustainable seafood, okay. What determine whether you really learn or not is whether after this you will look for sustainable seafood logo or label before you buy or not. Okay, that will show whether you really learn from this session, or it's just you just listen and you do not care. Okay, that is learning responses. Okay, and your self concepts. If you see yourself as someone who is concerned about the environment, maybe you will look for sustainable seafood. But if you do not aware or you do not concerned about what will happen to this environment, climate, and so on, maybe you will continue buying whatever you want to buy. So that is self-concepts. And this is situational factors. If you go to supermarket, everyone are buying sustainable seafood. Everyone are looking into sustainable seafood label, maybe you will also be influenced. But if people around you are also do not aware, people also don't care about this sustainable seafood label, then you will also don't care. Okay, so these all are situational factors influencing our behavior as a consumer. Okay, and yeah, this is barriers to sustainable consumption. Why? Why some of us are still not buying sustainable seafood? The first one is cost and affordability. Okay. Usually sustainable seafood is higher price than the seafood at the wet market, and that cause people do not have or cannot afford to buy this sustainable seafood. Okay, second one is awareness. I believe that in Malaysia people do not buy sustainable seafood because they are not aware. Okay, the awareness is very low. In Malaysia. The knowledge about all this threat of overfishing and so on is very low in Malaysia. I believe that. And that leads to why people do not buy sustainable seafood. Perceived risk, okay, maybe you are you have certain perception of risk related to sustainable seafood. Maybe you are concerned about whether it's good for the health. You are concerned about whether it can long lasting in your fish and so on. So that may cause people do not want to buy. Cultural preferences and habits. That's why I asked where you buy seafood. Okay. In Malaysia, a lot of people prefer to buy seafood at the wet market. Because it's more fresh than if you go to the supermarket. Okay. There are also Malaysians that will go to the seaside, okay, that they have it's not a pot, but a place where people get seafood fresh from the sea. Okay, so in that case, of course, there is no sustainable seafood logo or label. Okay, so that is habits and cultural preferences. We prefer fresh seafoods. We prefer to buy in certain market only, and that's also influence why you do not. That also can cause a barriers why we do not buy sustainable seafood. Other than that, is limited availability. Not many seafood in Malaysia, for example, is having that sustainable seafood label. Okay, when there is no availability, then people will not buy. Okay, there is limited choice, there is limited availability. That makes people do not have opportunities to buy this sustainable seafood. And yeah, maybe people also confused over the label. People do not aware of the label, and people confuse over this label then another label, that make people do not buy sustainable seafood. Okay, so all these are barriers to sustainable consumption. I believe I was only given 1 hour to speak. I don't know whether I have time for this activity or not. Is Dr. Ashifa here? Or the moderator, do I exceed my the time given to me?
Yes, miss, you can still continue. We still have time to continue your class.
How many minutes?
Maybe in 15 minutes left.
How many?
15 minutes left.
20?
15.
30?
15 minutes. 15 minutes left.
Do we have enough time for a debate?
Maybe yeah. Still, we can still this time to discuss about your topic.
Okay. So I since you are listening, okay, you are listening. People said if you listen, you do not remember. If you do, you remember. Okay. So in order to ensure that you remember this session today, I throw this topic to you. Okay, I throw this topic to you. Um, Okay. There are. I can see two groups of people here. One group will take a topic on factors influencing people to buy sustainable seafood in Indonesia. Another group, okay, will discuss on the topics factors hindering Indonesian from sustainable seafood consumption. Okay, one group will talk about factors influencing, okay, sustainable seafood consumption. Another group will talk about factors hindering sustainable seafood consumption. I give you 10 minutes to discuss, then we can have a debate. Is it okay?
Yes, okay, miss. Maybe for the first group is the inner right, my,
Okay.
and the second one is in my left.
Okay.
Okay.
So 10 minutes from now, then yeah, you need the microphone to talk later. Okay?
Okay, miss. Thanks for the time.
Okay. Done? Do you finish your discussion?
Okay, Miss. Maybe our student is already finished their discussion, and we can start to let them share their opinion about factor influencing and hindering Indonesian from consuming sustainable seafood. Okay, we start from the first group.
Um, Hello. Hello. Good morning, Mrs. Aisha. I'm Aulia, and I'm from Group One. Um, fr- Group One. Group One. Answer about the factors influencing and hindering Indonesian from countering sustainable seafood. Because the influencing factor is in terms of income in Indonesian, which is still low because this income in um, Indonesian can be affected because the price of fishes in Indonesian is higher than chicken, and point two, health health awareness and health awareness. Growing growing awareness of the health benefits of fish, such as protein and omega-3 content, encourages consumption. And the last point is fish availability, sustainable fishing, and aquaculture ensure sufficient fish supply. That's enough for the group one. Maybe has has a answer again from the AMTA.
That is hindrance factor or influencing factor?
That's influencing factor of consuming seafood in Indonesia.
Okay. Why do you consume sustainable seafood? Why Indonesian want to consume sustainable seafood? Can we get more answer?
Be- because fish has a high protein, so I think the the protein can be useful for our body. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any additional answer from this group?
Yeah, we still have one. Uh, from the first group, still have one. Uh,
Hello, let me introduce myself. My name is Amta Putra Widya. Uh, in my opinion, several factors that influencing and hindering consumption seafood in Indonesia is limited awareness about sustainable fishing practice, make it difficult for consumer to identify eco-friendly option. And next is sustainable seafood is often more expensive, putting it out of reach for lower income households. That is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next group. Maybe we can get the answer from the other groups.
Okay, for the second group,
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First, let me introduce myself first. My name is Rahma from Brawijaya University. I try to answer about the factor and hindering Indonesian from consuming sustainable seafood. I think my opinion, the first is accessibility and distribution. Second, fluctuating prices. Fish prices can vary depending on the season and supply, making it difficult for people to consume fish regularly. Third, poor processing and storage. And the last, I think, is fish odor and bones. I think some people are reluctant to eat fish due to its fishy smell and the presence of many small bones, especially for, I think, children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any more answer? That's why people don't eat fish, right? But there is fish in general, not sustainable fish lah. Is there any other answer?
maybe that's enough from the second group.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for your answer. I see a lot of answers related to why people do not buy sustainable seafood. I couldn't get any answer why people buy sustainable seafood except for one of our friends just now that said about protein. People buy or people consume seafood because of protein. But the other answers are related to why people do not buy or why people do not consume sustainable seafoods because of cost, because of you are talking about availability, you are talking about awareness and so on. It's actually almost similar situation in Indonesia and Malaysia. I believe that in Malaysia also why people do not consume sustainable seafood, the highest or the number one reason is awareness. People do not aware that we need to consume sustainably in terms of seafood. Okay. With that, I think I have exceed the time allocated for me, which is actually 60 minutes only. With that, I think thank you so much for your cooperation. Thank you so much for your response for this session. I'll see you again on Friday, right?
Yes, Miss. We will meet again on Friday.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Okay, Miss. I'm sorry, Miss. Before you left the Zoom meeting, can we just take a picture for this session?
Okay.
Okay, Miss. Are you ready for the take a picture to this session? Okay. Let me count it for to take a picture. 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. Once more, Miss. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, Miss, for today's lecture. We're gonna meet again on Friday. So thank you again for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in our next class. Once again, thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Recording stopped.